Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and in this video I'm going to go over the user interface on the new Yamaha PSR-E383 keyboard. I am going to include this entire video as part of my full review on the E383, which is coming soon. But since the user interface has had a pretty significant overhaul from the prior model, the E373, and since this line of keyboards is so popular and so well known, I thought it would be worth putting this video out on its own. So let's check it out. So when I first unboxed my E383, I did find the new user interface to be a little bit confusing, but once I got used to a few things, I do definitely prefer it over the E373's interface. But there's also some issues that I was hoping Yamaha would address that they didn't. So before I start going into too much detail though, something I wanted to mention right off the bat is that many of the buttons on the panel actually do more than one thing. There are buttons that have white text on the top and then gray text with a rectangle around it on the bottom. The text on the bottom with the gray rectangle is what you get if you hold down one of the shift buttons. There's one here and there's one over on the right-hand side of the keyboard as well. And then you press the button, you're going to get the function that's underneath the button. If you just ignore the shift key and then press the button, you're going to get whatever the white function is that's on top. As an example, if I press the split key without pressing the shift key, then I'm just going to get split mode turned on. You can see that lit up in the menu there. So now that's going to split the keyboard into two halves. So I'm going to have one voice down on the left. So that's a bass guitar. And then another voice on the right. So I got a piano up here. But if I hold down shift and then press split, then it's going to give me the ability to choose my split voice. So now I can, if I don't want a bass, I can use these buttons over on the right-hand side. Plus and minus buttons in the voice section to switch my bass. So I can go to a slap bass instead. Now on other parts of the keyboard, you're going to see buttons that have red writing on the top and blue writing on the bottom. What these buttons are going to do is going to depend if you're in song mode for replaying songs or style mode for using the auto accompaniment. You're going to see the song style button is red on the top with the song label there and then blue on the bottom. For style. So basically, right now I'm in style mode. You can see that on the display. If I press the song style button, it's going to go to song mode. So I can toggle back and forth. And depending what that setting is, that's going to determine what these buttons are going to do. So right now I'm in style mode. So if I press play, I'm just going to start and stop whatever the current selected style is. But if I switch to song mode, and then now I press play, it's going to start and stop whatever the current song is. Now keep this in mind on the bottom right side as well. We are going to get to this later, but if you're in song mode, these buttons are going to filter your songs based on these red genres that are labeled above the buttons. But if I'm in style mode, it's going to filter my styles based on the genres that are labeled in the blue labels. And one other thing to take note of now is that you may get asked along the way as you change settings, etc., to confirm your choice. When that happens, you choose yes or no with these two buttons over here on the right. And if you're not faced with a yes or no question, then those same two buttons are used for increasing or decreasing values. So I'm not being asked to confirm a choice right now. So if I go back to style mode, these two buttons are going to be used to move up and down in which style I've got selected. So these buttons kind of replace the wheel on the E373 for this. We'll see some more examples in just a bit. Now, one more overall thing to mention. You may find yourself in a menu or a setting and wonder, how do I get out of this setting? So I'm just going to press the function key. And this, I'm going to be going over this a bit later, but this is how you set different settings and that type of thing. Now, there's no exit or done or enter or anything on this keyboard. So you might be wondering, how do I get out of this? Well, to get out of that, you just press either one of the shift keys, and that's going to return you back to where you were. Kind of strange, and it took me a bit to figure this out, but once I did, not really a big deal. Okay, so with all that general stuff out of the way, let's dig into the user interface. Over on the left side, we've got the power button, the master volume, and the articulation button. This is how you trigger those extra articulation sounds on the super articulation light voices. Now up at the top, we've got the sound control section. So over on the left side, we've got the record button. With the record button, you can record and play back up to 5 user songs, including accompaniment if you like. They get stored as songs 126 to 130 in the songs section. So I'm just going to press record, and then I'm just going to play something. It's a masterpiece. Then I'm going to press stop. Now it says writing. Then I can press play to play that back. Even captured my mistake there. And you can see that's 126. So that's song number 126 in the song section, and it's just labeled with user 1. Now if I hold down shift and press record, you can see that says clear. That's how I delete that user song. So it's asking me yes or no. So I go over here and confirm that with yes. Are you sure? Yes. And then now user 1 is empty. Then the next button doubles as toggling the metronome on and off. And if I hold down shift and then press that, it's going to be to set the time signature. So you could hear those dings were coming in on every fourth beat, so it's 4/4. I'm going to use these buttons over here to increment the time signature down to 3. So that's going to be like a waltz, 3/4 time. And now when I turn the metronome on, you can hear the ding is on every third beat. Now the next button is the tempo button. So if I just press tempo, I can use the plus and minus buttons to increment that to whatever I want. And once again, remember you press shift to get out of a menu. And I can also tap, but something kind of strange happens here. I'm not sure why Yamaha did this. So I'm going to tap a tempo. It starts playing the current style if you're in style mode. So I don't know why Yamaha did that. That's kind of irritating, actually. And now if I hold down shift and press the tempo button, it's going to get me to choose the split point. Now the current split point is, I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, is the one key that's labeled with the opposite color there. Now on a lot of keyboards you can set the split point between the upper and lower voice by just pressing a key. That doesn't work on the E383. What you have to do is use the plus and minus buttons, and you can see that key is scrolling up to wherever I want the split point to be. Not the end of the world, but it is nice on the keyboards that do allow you to just press a key to do that. Okay, so now onto the DSP button. If I just press DSP, first of all, I'm going to press shift to escape that. So I press DSP, and this is just going to turn DSP on or off. So it turns on the DSP effects. If I want to choose the type of DSP effect, I hold down shift and then hit DSP, and then now I've got the type. So this is DSP is on, so I've got some kind of an ensemble. And if I hit that button to toggle it off, then that turns that back off again. Now just something to notice here, notice it says function 26 DSP type. That's because this is one of the settings that's within the function menu. So I can also access that if I press shift to get out of there by pressing function. And then I can go through the different functions that are in the function menu. And some of those, like that DSP type, are hooked up to direct access buttons. So that's kind of handy. But I could also get at those just by going through the function menu. And we will go over that menu in a little bit more detail later. Now I'm going to press shift again to get out of there. Now the harmony and arpeggio button works basically the same. I can press harmony and arpeggio to turn that on or off, and then I can hold down shift and press it to choose which kind of harmony or arpeggio that I want to use. Then just going to turn harmony back off again. Now the dual button, that turns on dual, so now I have two, press shift to get out of there. So now I've got two voices layered together. And just like that split button I showed you earlier, I can hold down shift and press dual, and then I can choose what I want as the dual voice. So I can scroll between different voices and choose a different one. Now something else to note here is you can use these voice categories. Let's say I wanted my dual voice to be a tenor sax. So it's just a quicker way to navigate than just going by just the plus and minus buttons. So I'll exit out of there, and I'm going to turn dual off. And then as I did demo the split earlier, you press split to turn splits on and off, and you hold shift and split to choose your split voice. Then we have the duo button, which is a new feature on the E383. This splits the keyboard into 2 equal octaves, and if you press shift duo, you can choose the left voice. So the right voice stays at whatever your main voice is. This feature is intended to have you sit by an instructor and each have the same octave to play in, but the fact that you can switch the left voice makes this an interesting alternative to using splits. And then having to shift octaves if you're using splits on one or both of the voices. For example, in my band, I'm often playing piano in my right hand and organ in my left, or vice versa. And when I do that on my 61-key stage keyboard, I'm very often shifting octaves up and down on either side to get what I want. So having both sides automatically be the same octave just might be a handy option for doing kind of the same thing. So basically the way this works is I press Duo. Now if I press this C key here, and then I press the C key over on the left that you can't even see, you can see that's the same octave as this one. And then if I hold down Shift and press Duo, I could choose a different voice for the left voice if I wanted. Okay, so in the section below, we're now into some of the keys that are used with either the song setting, so functions indicated with red labels, or the style or rhythms and accompaniment setting, which are functions indicated with blue labels. So I'll go through the song setting first. I'm going to press Song to go into song mode. These 4 buttons are used with the built-in lesson features called Keys to Success. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because I really think Yamaha wasted their efforts on this feature. With all the amazing apps and online piano courses available nowadays, lessons built into keyboards are far less engaging and really do pale in comparison. They really are kind of a thing of the past, but the feature's there if you want to use it. So if you download the song list PDF from Yamaha's website, you can look at the sheet music and then use this Keys to Success feature to play along. So if I press Keys to Success, it's going to want me to, with whatever the currently selected song was, to play along. And then if I play that section well enough, it's going to, which is 70 out of 100 or better, however they're scoring that with, whether I hit enough correct notes, then I get some cheesy applause and then get to move on to the next section. So if I hit play, it's going to give me a little count in. I don't have the music in front of me, so I'm not going to be able to play along. So I'm going to get 0 on this. Now, if I had done, see, it's telling me to try again, so I'm just going to hit stop once this starts up. Now, if I had played along and hit the correct notes, it would have given me some cheesy applause and moved on to the next section. Then there's also buttons for the 3-step lesson and the left and the right parts if you want. But as I said, I'm not going to go into too much more detail on this. So the other uses for these 4 buttons are the total opposites, super useful and interesting. These are used for working with styles in the new auto chord play feature. So when you're in style mode, if you press this on-off button, you're going to turn on auto chord play. You can see the auto pops up in the screen there. So now when I press play, whatever the currently chosen built-in chord progression, it's just going to go through the chords and display them on the screen, and I can play along. And it's just going to keep playing through that chord progression for me. Super cool. And to select which chord progression I want to use, I hit the select key. And then you can see I'm on a 1-6-4-5 progression. I'm just going to switch to 1-5-6-4 progression, and then I can play that one. Then the next 2 buttons in this section are used for configuring how you want to play when you're controlling the auto accompaniment yourself instead of using the auto chord feature. So I'm going to turn auto chord off. So that's off now. Now the first button is the fingering type. So when I press that one, I can choose between smart chord and multi-finger, which are unfortunately the only 2 chord detection modes on the PSR-E383. I was really hoping that Yamaha was going to kind of finally start to catch up to the competition and add more fingering modes, but they haven't. So a bit of a letdown, but that's just the way it is. So if I'm on smart chord, this is a like a single finger kind of a wizard mode that uses the diatonic chords for whatever key signature I've chosen. And multi-finger is just fingering the full chords yourself with your left hand. Now the next button is the style key, and the style key is going to be used with the smart chord fingering mode and also with the auto chord feature. So for example, when I press the style key, you're going to see it says SP0, which is for 0 sharps or flats, and it says I'm in the key of C or A minor. And both C and A minor don't have any sharps or flats, just white notes. Then if I use these buttons to increment that, I can move up to 1 sharp, which is either the key of G or the key of E minor. Or I can go the other direction and go to 1 flat, which has F or D minor, etc. I'm just going to go back to C here, and I'm going to play that chord progression again. I'm going to turn auto chords back on. And just keep an eye on the chords and listen to the chord progression as well as I play this. Now I'm going to switch that to G, which has 1 sharp. Now listen again and also watch the chords again. So it's the same chord progression. The chords are the same relative to each other, but it's now in a different key. So that's a super cool feature. And that also works when you're using smart chord with auto accompaniment as well. Okay, so now onto the buttons at the bottom left. We've already actually touched on these a bit. They're basically used to control the playback of a song if you're in song mode, or to control the styles if you're in style mode. In song mode, you've got buttons for repeating sections, rewinding or fast-forwarding the song, pausing, and starting and stopping. And if you're in style mode, you can turn the accompaniment on or off, so just play with the drums or have the backing instruments. You can include an intro if you press that before you start playing, and if you already are playing and you press that button, it's going to trigger an ending. You can press the main or auto fill to switch back and forth between the 2 variations of the style, A and B, and there will be a fill in between. And sync start is going to have the accompaniment start when you start playing, and then start and stop. So just as an example, I'm going to turn the auto chord feature back off again, and I'm going to switch this just back to C, and I'm in smart chord mode, so I can just play with single fingers. So I'm just going to hit sync start, and I'm going to hit intro so that an intro is going to start when I start playing, and then I'll just hit a key down here. Now I can switch once this intro is done. You see the intro is still going here, and it's going to go into variation B. Now I'm in B. I can hit the main autofill. It's going to switch to the variation A with a little fill in between, and I can go back. And then I can hit ending, and then I'm going to get an ending. Okay, so now onto the right side of the user interface. The top section is for selecting voices. I can select them one by one using the plus and minus keys. Or if I want to find a voice a little bit quicker, I can jump straight to the category. So for example, if I want a strings voice, I can press the strings button. It goes straight to voice 100, and then I can still move up and down one by one if I want. And you've got the handy portable grand white button up here, which will quickly take you back to voice 001, which is the default grand piano. Then below that, we've got the function key. When I press function, it opens up the function menu, and I can use the top plus and minus keys to choose which function I want to adjust. And then I can use the bottom plus and minus keys to actually adjust that setting to whatever I want. Now, if you remember from earlier in the video, a lot of common functions are directly accessible through dedicated panel buttons, which is awesome. If you remember when I hold down Shift and press DSP, that takes me to function number 26, which is the DSP type. And something I was really hoping that Yamaha would fix on the E383 was to please add dedicated buttons for 2 of the most commonly used settings, transpose and octave shift. But they've left that off again, which I found to be a little bit of a letdown. So before I go into the Numlock feature, which is what you get when you hold down Shift and press function, I'm just going to go over the buttons at the bottom here in the song style section. You'll notice once again they're either red or blue. So red if you're in song mode is what they're going to give you, and blue if you're in style mode. So if I'm in song mode, which I'll just switch to, then I can use these different categories of songs. So for example, piano ensemble will take me to the piano ensemble section of songs, and then I can move up and down with the plus and minus buttons here. If I'm in style mode, then I can use basically the same procedure to choose between pop, jazz, go straight to some rock styles, and then choose the one that I want using the plus and minus buttons. Then you're going to notice there's one button in the bottom right that does have a something that happens when you hold down the Shift key. It's got the little gray rectangle there, and that's Music Database. So if I hold down Shift and press Music Database, This is going to be where Yamaha has set up styles and voices they feel are appropriate for some popular songs. And you can choose those with the plus and minus buttons. So I can go to these different songs, and then when I do that, once I've picked my song, I'll just stick with Hey Jude here. Then I can press Shift to get out of that menu, and then it's going to have set the style. I picked number 38 Love Song, and it set the voice to a flute. So then when I start playing that, it just gives me that voice and that style. So now I want to talk about that Numlock feature, which is what you get when you hold down Shift and press the function key. When I do that, you're going to see Numlock pop up on the screen. What this does is it turns the category keys in the voice section and the song style section into number pads you can use to directly jump to a voice, style, or song, if you happen to know the exact number. The only problem here is that the numbers on the keys are only labeled with an indent, so they're very difficult to see. I don't know why Yamaha didn't just label the keys with numbers instead. So for example, when I've got Numlock turned on and I press 068 up in the voice section, I go straight to a distorted guitar voice. And the same at the bottom. If I go and I press 074, I go straight to a UK soft rock style. So given the need to memorize these numbers and the fact that the keys aren't labeled very well, I can't really see myself using this. I would instead just use the registration memory banks to memorize my favorite voices. So that brings me to the registration memory button. So I'm just going to turn off Numlock, which you have to do once again by holding down Shift and hitting the Numlock button so the Numlock goes off. So if I press registration memory, it's going to ask me what number I want to load. And there's 10 memory registration slots. I really wish Yamaha had upgraded that from the prior model a little bit more. The prior one had 9, this one has 10. I wish they had 30 or something, but once again, you just work with what you've got. So I'm going to load, I use these buttons to choose it. I'm going to load number 3. So that's registration number 3, and it loaded whatever was saved in there. Now, if I wanted to make some changes to this, I'm going to change it to a strings voice, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and hit registration memory instead. This is how I save one. So now if I save that to registration number 3, asks me to confirm, I go yes. So then I'm going to I'll load registration number 1, then I'll go back to registration number 3, and you can see that it's saved the settings that I had. Reloaded that strings voice that I saved with it. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope it was helpful for new owners of the Yamaha PSR-E383 in getting to know the user interface. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I will be including this video in its entirety in my full review on the PSR-E383, which should be out pretty soon. So if you found this content useful, please feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. That does really help me out. I've left links in the description below to my initial reaction video on the PSR-E383, as well as some links to check out current prices in your area. And as usual, I've left links to some online piano training that has worked really well for me if you want to check those out. So thanks again for stopping by. Happy piano playing and have an awesome day.